Hokage Hidden Ace, the time-traveling Hyuga who outshines Madara, Episode 81, Am I practicing fake sage jutsu? Chiyo is mentally prepared for Sancho Hanzo to chase after Sand Shinobi Village like a mad dog. After all, Sand Shinobi Village takes revenge on Rain Shinobi Village, and it is normal for Rain Shinobi Village to pursue them in turn. Demigods are also people who want face, although his face is not valuable to the 5 great ninja villages. However, all the villages and towns in the Land of Rain were plundered by Sand Shinobi Village. As the leader of Rain Shinobi Village, how could he, Sanshouyu Hanzo, survive in the ninja world if he didn't show any signs of it? Regardless of whether he has the nerve to hang around, the name of the Land of Rain alone will not let him go. The Daming Palace invests so much money every year, and all aspects are supporting you, Sanshouyu Hanzo. I can understand that you can't defeat the 5 great ninja villages. After all, the 2 sides are not of the same size. But Sand Shinobi Village has been plundered in the Land of Rain, but you Hanzo, the Sancho fish, don't even dare to fart. What's the use of my Daming Fuse investment in you? Whether it's for his own reputation, the people of Rain Country, and the name of Rain Country, Sancho Hanzo has to confront Sand Shinobi Village. He couldn't beat him, even if he bit with his teeth, he would bite off a piece of flesh from Sand Shinobi Village. Otherwise, he is a sinner. The Sand Shinobi Village was chased and bitten by the Rain Shinobi Village, led by Sancho Hanzo. The attempt to unite the IWA Ninja Village was rejected by Lus, a stubborn little boy. Just because of this, Chiyo is not so angry. In this great chaos war, Konoha's main force adheres to one principle: fight other enemies if they can, and evacuate if they can't, as long as the battlefield area occupied by the village is not lost. But Sand Shinobi Village cannot give in, they must fight to the death and confront them head-on. If you want to start a war, seek death in any way, or behave in all kinds of ways, then I will help you. A bunch of trash. After cursing for a while, Chiyo gradually calmed down, because she discovered that if this continued, the situation of Sand Shinobi Village in the Rain Kingdom battlefield would become more and more passive. Of the 3 enemies, the IWA Shinobi Village did not chase them, but they would definitely not show mercy when they encountered them. The Rain Shinobi Village chased them like mad dogs. Konoha also stared at them. As this goes back and forth, the situation in Sand Shinobi Village will become increasingly embarrassing. As long as we keep the original rhythm, the worst thing we can do is slowly fight against Rain Shinobi Village and Konoha. But the war situation will change at any time. Who is sure that the IWA Ninja Village will not take the opportunity to join in tomorrow? Once IWA Ninja Village. If Konoha and Rain Shinobi Village are chasing after Sand Shinobi Village, then Sand Shinobi Village will really be ruined. Shigulin, Jingyi sat cross-legged on the ground, with the continuous absorption of natural energy, coupled with the integration of physical energy and spiritual energy, the Sage Jutsu Chakra was formed. Katsuyu Sage, who was bored, suddenly lowered his head and looked at Shizuchi, who was motionless. I saw Jingyi sitting cross-legged on the ground and absorbing natural energy. A long and thin line appeared under the eyeliner. If you don't look carefully, you might even mistake it for eyeliner. Shao Shizuchi, I read it right. Your talent is very good, and your control of the Sage Jutsu Chakra is better than ordinary people. Even Kohashirama may not be able to match you. Jingyi didn't seem to hear this. The first time he opened his eyes, he took out a mirror. People who learn Sage Jutsu may not only have some special lines on their faces, but also some strange features on their bodies. For example, the snake tail that is the symbol of Ryuchi Cave, the toad face of Mount Mayaboku, and the Sage Jutsu of Shimagun Forest are the iconic features. Shizuchi is not sure, but he doesn't want to grow 2 tentacles on his head. Or the body becomes wet. Well. Looking at himself in the mirror, Jingyi felt dazzled. Why is there no change? Could it be that I am practicing fake Sage Jutsu? No, I've already entered Sage Jutsu Chakra mode. There must be something strange on him. Jing panicked for a moment and quickly raised and lowered his hands to check his body quickly. The big bird is still there, so I can breathe a sigh of relief. Katsuyu Sage didn't understand what Jingyi was doing, so he could only tilt his head suspiciously and look at him quietly. After Jingyi checked all of his body and confirmed that there was nothing wrong, he slowly spoke. Xiao Jingyi, he also practices Sage Jutsu, but he is a talented person who can perfectly master the Sage Jutsu Chakra, so he does not have any special characteristics. Damn it, you told me earlier, you scared me. Jingyi picked up the mirror that was thrown on the ground and looked at it carefully, and finally discovered that her lower lash line was a bit heavy. If you didn't pay attention, you couldn't see it at all, as if it had been slightly drawn. I don't want others to have a lot of lines on their face. Katsuyu Sage, is my control of the Sage Jutsu Chakra perfect? Jingyi raised his head and asked. Katsuyu Sage nodded his huge head and said happily, of course, there are no special features on the body, and there are few lines on the face, which means that the control of the Sage Jutsu chakra is perfect. It is the first time for Koshirama to enter Sage mode. At that time, they all turned into big faces. Jingyi. In Senju Hashirama's Sage mode, the obvious lines are the lines near the two eyes, and there are no circles between the hearts. Shizuchi has none of these features. Even if you practice Sage Jutsu in the same place, the lines on your face will be different. For example, Jiraiya and Naruto, Jiraiya's talent in Sage Jutsu is not as good as Naruto's. If you want to enter Sage Jutsu chakra mode, you need the help of a toad on Mount Myaboku, and it will leave many strange features, such as a toad face. Moreover, the lines on the face are also very strange, and there are many of them. Naruto is different. When he enters Sage Jutsu chakra mode, he only has a red line around his eyes. Not to mention the lines, after he and Jiraiya enter Sage mode, the shape of the pupils of their eyes will also change, including Minato. After all, the three of them practiced Sage Jutsu at Mount Myaboku. Jingyi chose Shirgu Forest. It's just that the lines on his face are very different from Senju pillars. Even if there are few lines, it can confuse people and is more beautiful. Xiao Jingyi, your eyes are very special. I found that they are slowly absorbing the natural energy of Shigilin. Can you feel the Sage Jutsu chakra in your body being consumed? Is the reincarnated eye absorbing natural energy? Jingyi was slightly startled. After feeling the changes in his body, he replied, it seems that the consumption is very small. What is the biggest disadvantage of Sage mode? That is natural energy. When the natural energy you have inhaled into your body is used up, you will exit the Sage Jutsu chakra mode, because people cannot absorb natural energy during action or fighting. There is less natural energy in the body, which means that the Sage Jutsu chakra is used less. After using up, it is necessary to continue to absorb the natural energy to transform the Sage Jutsu chakra. But Jingyi's reincarnated eye can independently absorb natural energy, keeping Jingyi's absorption and consumption at a balance point. Episode 82. The enemy of the enemy can be an ally. In other words, after he enters Sage Jutsu chakra mode, he can maintain this state for a long time as long as the battle consumption is not so great. Unlike others, it can only be turned on at critical times and ends when it is consumed. The big head leaned in front of Jingyi and observed carefully. Katsuyu Sage finally came to a conclusion. Xiao Jingyi, your eyes are very special, and they match the Sage Jutsu of the Shigu Forest. Maybe your future achievements can surpass Koshirama. My upper limit is Senju Hashirama? Please stop joking. It's a pity that Katsuyu Sennin only knows that the reincarnated eye is special and magical, but he doesn't know how terrifying these eyes are. Without getting too hung up on the issue, Jingyi raised his head and asked, Katsuyu Sage, is my Sage Jutsu practice over? Yes. Katsuyu Sage sighed, you can master Shigilin Sage Jutsu faster than Koshirama. Your training is over here. As for the rest, you still need to adapt slowly. Katsuyu Sage is not a human being, he is a kind of being. If he has something to say, he will say it directly. Unlike humans, he will choose to be tactful or use other roundabout methods. Good is good, bad is bad. That's good, I can finally have a good rest. He was busy during the day every day, and after get off work, he had to go to the Shirgu Forest to practice Sage Jutsu at night. After a while, Jingyi felt that he was in a trance, and he obviously didn't have enough rest time. Now he was finally free and no longer had to come to Shirgu Forest every day. It's enough to slowly explore and adapt to it in the camp. Yes, then I'll take you back, Xiao Jingyi. Compared to Katsuyu Sage's long lifespan, Shizuchi is indeed a little guy compared to him. Then I'll trouble you, Katsuyu Sage. Jingyi released the Sage Chakra mode. He needed to go back and have a good sleep, and then rest for a while to get rid of the fatigue accumulated during this period. Senior, if you scare someone, you will scare them to death. As soon as she returned to the lounge, she saw someone sitting here. Jingyi was startled. After seeing the other person's face clearly, she complained angrily. Nara Lushin smiled faintly, you Hyuga Jingyi are so timid? I'm not cowardly, I'm afraid that I'll be scared and beat you to death. Am I timid? I'm so afraid that if I don't control myself, I'll slap you to death. Nara Luxian, this kid is really not polite at all when talking to his seniors. Senior, do you have anything to do with me? He picked up the kettle and poured himself a glass of water, took off his wet coat that was full of mucus, and threw it into the trash can nearby. He is free from today. Finally, I no longer have to go to Shirgu Forest to practice Sage Jutsu. Looking at the clothes that were full of mucus or mud, Nara Lushin looked at them curiously. Fortunately, he could control his curiosity and did not ask where Jingyi went or why he suddenly appeared again. Not surprisingly, it should be related to the reverse channeling of psychic beasts. After putting on clean clothes, Jingyi felt comfortable all over. He took out a cup, poured 2 cups of hot water, and handed one of them to Naruto. Thanks. Taking the cup and taking a sip of hot water, Naruto said, Jingyi, some words don't sound good, but I believe you understand that now you and I, we are all in the same boat. They are considered to be in the same boat, but neither party has made it clear. Jing nodded a little, acknowledging Naruto's statement. Tsunade said, the guarantee you gave her is that the village can win the battlefield of the Land of Rain? Right. Tsunade is not the 3rd Hokage. Since she regards Ino Shikacho as one of her own, she will definitely tell them something. Naruto knew about this. Jingyi was not surprised. Then our goals are aligned. Naruto showed a satisfied smile. I don't know what trump card you have, and I won't explore it. I came to you because I want to know what suggestions you have for the development of the battlefield situation. It's tiring talking to you brainiacs. One sentence takes a long time to think about. Jingyi put down the cup in his hand and said helplessly, Senior, what do you want to say? Just say it directly. There is no need to go around. This is very tiring. I want to seek alliance, but I can't convince the Hokage-sama and the elders, so I need Tsunade to fully support me and lobby to get the support of the Hokage-sama and the elders. After talking about this, Naruto no longer concealed anything and revealed his purpose of finding Jingyi. He wanted to get a helper for Konoha, but he couldn't convince people like the 3rd Hokage. He needs support. Naruto knew that many of the things Tsunade did were proposed by Jingyi. In other words, it was better to go to Jingyi directly than to go to Tsunade. Seeking unity? Jingyi was stunned for a moment, and after thinking for a moment, he said in surprise, Senior, you want to join forces with Rain Shinobi Village? Again, there are no eternal enemies, only eternal interests. As long as the interests are enough, even Rain Shinobi Village can become an ally. It's great to talk to smart people. Naruto said, yes, Rain Shinobi Village and Sand Shinobi Village took the initiative to provoke the war. Before the war is over, it is impossible to shake hands with the village and make peace. Iwa Shinobi Village does not pay attention to this war. Anoki's Eyes and Kumo Ninja Village, Rain Shinobi Village is the only one we can win over. It's really interesting. The first step is to drag others into the water, which leads to the outbreak of war in Rain Shinobi Village. The second step is to find others to join forces. Sancho Hanzo would probably be furious if he heard this. That was before, now Sand Shinobi Village is the enemy of both sides. Nara is confident that as long as the village agrees and is willing to provide compensation and benefits, he believes that he can convince Sancho Hanzo. So can Konoha and Rain Shinobi Village really unite? The answer is yes. Don't look at the fact that Konoha deliberately dragged Rain Shinobi Village into the water before, causing war to break out in the Land of Rain. Sancho Hanzo must hate Konoha to death. If Konoha shows enough sincerity to win over Sancho Hanzo, both parties can sit down. Talk about. As long as the benefits are sufficient, what happened before is nothing. Senior, you are so unkind. Jingyi said speechlessly, you have such an idea yourself. You don't contact Mr. Hokage or go to Tsunade, but you want me to convince Tsunade. It's just a high-level person. If you want to move Sancho Hanzo, you need a big name. The government will help. If you just talk, I could break my leg. Haha, those who are capable should work harder. After all, you are the most suitable candidate. Konoha has given enough compensation and benefits, and if Sancho Hanzo still doesn't agree, then he will start from the Daiming Mansion and let the daimyo of the Fire Country contact the daimyo of the Rain Country. When the time comes, you, Sancho Hanzo, will feel unhappy. The big names are looking for you. Let's see if you still dare to refuse. Episode 83, Tsunade interferes in village affairs and causes Koharu to be dissatisfied. I'll give it a try. It may not take the Daiming Mansion to convince Sancho Hanzo, but the village must provide sufficient benefits. Based on the people of the 3rd Hokage, it is very likely that they will agree to this suggestion. The 3rd Hokage at this period is still somewhat courageous, and the more troublesome thing is the elders. Especially the old woman Koharu, who is the most difficult to deal with when she goes to bed. Senior, be prepared to be rejected. There are many things that may not be possible even if Tsunade comes forward. Jingyi gave Naruto a vaccination. The greater your expectations, the greater your disappointment. Naruto stood up with a smile. From the moment I had this idea, I was mentally prepared to be rejected. Let's give it a try. If it succeeds, it's best. If it doesn't, then just take it slow. You have a good rest. I see that you have been very tired recently. Cultivation is important, but rest is also important. As the head of the Nara clan, Nara knew all the secrets in the village, so he would not be curious about what Jingyi was doing or where he went. Senior, walk slowly. After sending Nara Lushin away, Jingyi took out the scroll, wrote this down, used a puppet to send the scroll to the village, and left the rest to Tsunade. Tsunade will definitely not refuse Nara Lushin's suggestion. The difficulty lies in the Hokage office and the elders group. The scroll was sent out in the middle of the night and arrived in Konoha at dawn. It was delivered to Tsunade's hand smoothly. After reading the scroll, Tsunade began to have a headache. Senior, you are really going to find trouble for me. The suggestion is good, but it is not easy to get the support of third Hokage. Tsunade could only choose to try. Fortunately, Nara Luxin and Jingyi were both prepared to be rejected. It would be best if this proposal was accepted, but it would be okay if it was rejected. Just take it slow. The war doesn't end that easily. There is still work to be done in the days to come. Arriving at the Hokage office building, Tsunade walked into the Hokage office and told Nara Lushin's suggestion. Third Hokage frowned directly. Tsunade, in order to suppress the development of Rain Shinobi Village, the village deliberately dragged Rain Shinobi Village down, causing the country of Rain to become a battlefield for the three major countries. The relationship between Rain Shinobi Village and the village has dropped to a freezing point. It's very difficult for us to convince Sanshuyu Hanzo. I know. Tsunade said, it's difficult, but it doesn't mean it's impossible. As long as we can convince Hanzo the Sanshuyu to unite Rain Shinobi Village and Konoha, the battlefield situation in the Kingdom of Rain will change. I'll ask Koharu and the others to come over and let's sit down and negotiate. After thinking for a while, third Hokage decided to hold a simple meeting. As for the resolution, we will wait until the meeting is over. After receiving the notice, I moved to bed. Koharu and Mito Manabu arrived, and so did Akamichi Kaifeng. Including Tsunade, the five of them sat in the Hokage office and began to discuss. No, I refuse. As expected, after learning Tsunade's purpose, Koharu immediately began to object. I am not targeting anyone, everything I said is from the perspective of the village, and it is for the good of the village. Winning a person in the Land of Rain allies seem to be beneficial to us, but don't forget that there are more than just 3 families fighting on the battlefield in the Kingdom of Rain. We paid a huge price to win over Rain Shinobi Village. What about IWA Shinobi Village? Once the village unites with Rain Shinobi Village, will the stimulated IWA Ninja Village unite with Sand Shinobi Village? This makes sense. Third Hokage and Mito Manabu nodded slightly. Akamichi was silent for a while and said, the center of gravity of IWA Ninja Village is over Yun Ninja Village, so. Fat man, can you guarantee that IWA Shinobi Village and Sand Shinobi Village will not unite? Go to bed. Koharu didn't want to hear this and asked directly, if you can guarantee that IWA Shinobi Village and Sand Shinobi Village will not come together, then I will agree to negotiate with Rain Shinobi Village on behalf of the elders. I guarantee you a damn. Akamichi wanted to scold her for taking advantage of the trend. The relationship between villages changes rapidly. Especially during the war, Konoha would always think of finding peace talks with Rain Shinobi Village. Sand Shinobi Village and IWA Shinobi Village might also have the same idea. Sand Shinobi Village has actually taken action, but it was just rejected. Of course, Konoha doesn't know this information. Konoha wants to cooperate with Rain Shinobi Village. In addition to having to work hard to convince Hanzo, he also needs to worry about the reaction of IWA Shinobi Village. Once IWA Shinobi Village is stimulated and turns around to join forces with Sand Shinobi Village, Konoha will still suffer the consequences. After all, Rain Shinobi Village cannot be compared with IWA Shinobi Village. Even if Konoha finally unites with Rain Shinobi Village and faces the joint attack of Sand Shinobi Village and IWA Ninja Village, they will still suffer in the end. Not to mention that they didn't know the information that Chiyo had contacted the IWA Ninja Village. Even if they knew it, third Hokage and others would not dare to take a gamble. It is even possible to think that it was Tsunade who made this suggestion, which caused IWA Ninja Village and Sand Shinobi Village to unite against Konoha. I knew it would be like this. Tsunade sighed and folded her hands on her chest. She no longer wanted to speak. During the war, contacting one of the enemies and forming an alliance is inherently a risky matter. As long as the higher-ups agree and provide sufficient benefits, I believe Sanshuyu Hanzo will agree. The success rate is very high. If it doesn't work, just ask the daimyo to help. But Koharu caught the IWA Ninja Village and wouldn't let him go. Today's meeting was in vain and a complete waste of time. Fortunately, Tsunade was mentally prepared, so she wasn't too disappointed. After the meeting, Tsunade and Akamichi took the first step to leave. Hiruzen, what do you think Tsunade wants to do? Koharu moved to bed and complained, she has intervened more and more in the village's affairs. The current war situation is already chaotic, and they still want to unite with Rain Shinobi Village? If this causes IWA Ninja Village to be stimulated, then the village will, but it's dangerous. With the pharmaceutical department and Umbu in her hands, what happened to Tsunade meddling in the village? It makes sense. But when a woman is unreasonable, she won't listen to anything she says, so third Hokage simply skipped it. What you said makes sense, so I also feel that the peace talks with Rain Shinobi Village are not appropriate. The war situation will change at any time. The current situation is most beneficial to the village. In the eyes of many people, the situation in the country of Rain is the most beneficial to Konoha. The IWA Ninja Village is not very enthusiastic about this war. There is a strong enemy behind them who may come to steal their homes at any time. Therefore, the IWA Ninja Village's focus has always been on the Cloud Ninja Village. Sand Shinobi Village is at loggerheads with Konoha, and Rain Shinobi Village is clinging to Sand Shinobi Village. Compared to Sand Shinobi Village, which is struggling everywhere, Konoha's situation is not that bad. At least for now, this is the case, so the F4 team is not willing to take risks at all. Even if they can really convince Rain Shinobi Village, they will be worried about the reaction of IWA Shinobi Village. After leaving the Hokage office building, Akamichi sighed and said, I don't know if it's because I'm getting older. The monkey doesn't have the courage it used to have. The elders have interfered too seriously in the village. Who can blame the old man for planting the thunder himself? Tsunade curled her lips. Episode 84, Hatake Tsukumo's team is surrounded by the Earth-style Legion. Under normal circumstances, the elder group does not have such great power. During the First Ninja War, in order to secure the throne of the Hokage, the third Hokage won over other people in the F4 group and gave them a lot of benefits and rights. It's hard to take it back now. Senior Liu Xian, I will ask Jingyi to inform him. If the suggestion is not passed, let him not continue to worry about this matter. It's just that the elders are opposed, but Tsunade can still lobby. The key is that the third Hokage is not willing to take risks. With the elders and the third Hokage, it is difficult for Tsunade to come forward. News from the village was sent to the frontline camps that day. Jing originally wanted to go to the headquarters, but after thinking about it, she sent someone to inform Nara Liu Xian and ask him to come over. It seems Tsunade Heim is right, your cooking skills are very good. Just in time, just in time. Pour the vegetables into the stewed broth, put the pot on the table, and Jingyi invited Nara Liu Xian to sit down. Ha ha ha, I won't be polite today. Nara Liu Xin is very busy, and she is not a particularly greedy person. When it comes to food, she has always had the attitude that eating is enough. In addition, the conditions in the camp are limited, so it's good to have enough food, so why worry about so much? Only Jingyi can turn on the small stove in the camp. No one would object to Nara Liu Xian's small talk, but he would not do it. This is bacon, it's well marinated and tastes good. After tasting a piece of meat, Nara Dear Heart thought about it for a while and felt that something was missing. Shizuchi took out a bottle of sake and handed it over. I said something was missing, and it turned out to be wine. With wine and meat, wouldn't it make the food taste better? The two sat together and ate for a long time. Seeing that the meal was almost done, Nara Liu Xin asked, is it because the village refused? After Jingyi had eaten and drank enough, he put down his bowls and chopsticks and wiped his mouth. The Hokage-sama's position is not firm. The elders believe that it is risky to do so. They are worried that the IWA Shinobi Village will be stimulated and will unite with the Sand Shinobi Village, so they strongly rejected it. Although she was mentally prepared, Nara Liu Xin was still a little disappointed when she heard this. Then grind it slowly. Without the support of the village, even if Nara Liu Xin goes to see Sanshuyu Hanzo in person and convinces him, it will be in vain. After struggling to convince the other party, the promised benefits and resources are delayed, which makes others angry. By then, Rain Shinobi Village will not be chasing after Sand Shinobi Village, but Konoha. After seeing off Nara Liu Xian, Jingyi changed into clothes and went to the ward of the medical room to start patrolling as usual. Master Jingyi. When the medical ninjas and medical staff in the medical room saw him coming, they all smiled and greeted him. Thank you everyone for your hard work. Jingyi responded one by one with a smile. After checking around and making sure everything was fine, he returned to the lounge. When he returned to the lounge, Jingyi fell down and fell asleep. He wanted to make up for the sleep he had lost during this period. On the battlefield in the courtyard camp, in a Yamanaka, Jiraiya was lying on the ground without any image, looking a little embarrassed, even a little miserable. Ahem. We won't die here, will we? After coughing twice and a lot of blood spilling from the corner of his mouth, Jiraiya laughed at himself and said, sure enough, Shizuchi's words make sense. We are still too young after all. Could you say a few words less? Are we too young? Jingyi is the young one, okay? Hatake Sakumo wanted to roll his eyes, but he was so tired that he didn't even want to move his fingers. He could only rest against the rocks to regain his strength. Among the three, only Orochimaru is in better shape. It's not that Orochimaru is much stronger than the two of them, but that Orochimaru reacts quickly. Ahem. How should we contact the camp? Hatake Sakumo closed his eyes and said nothing. Orochimaru sat aside and calmly took out the scroll and took out a crow puppet from the scroll. The crow puppet came out of the scroll, looked at the situation outside, and jumped on Orochimaru's arm to stand. Dog, bullshit Orochimaru, when did you still have the heart to play psychic beasts? Hatake Sakumo, who was resting with his eyes closed, opened his eyes and looked at Orochimaru curiously. The current situation of the three of them is very bad. When they were chasing the Sand Shinobi Village ninjas, they were ambushed by the IWA Ninja Village. No one expected that the IWA Ninja Village, which had never targeted Konoha, would send them such an attack. A great gift. Thanks to the fact that the three of them were strong enough, they rushed out of the encirclement of IWA Ninja Village. Hatake Sakumo was seriously injured and now had no fighting ability. Jiraiya was even worse, with wounds all over his body, and the wounds on his body were still bleeding. Ignoring Jiraiya's nonsense, Orochimaru looked at the crow puppet in his hand. Can you contact your master? Jiraiya. Hatake Sakumo. Orochimaru is not crazy. Or was Tsunade's brain injured when she broke out of the encirclement? The crow puppet called twice, still looking around curiously. Who's looking for me? Just when Orochimaru was about to continue, the crow puppet's eyes lit up, and then Jingyi's confused voice came from the crow puppet's mouth. It sounded like he was sleeping and hadn't woken up yet. Jingyi was indeed sleeping. To be precise, he was catching up on his drowsiness. He was just falling asleep when he suddenly heard someone talking to him. The puppet given life by the reincarnation can be used as a monitor and microphone, but the distance is not very far, so it can be controlled as desired. Wardfa. What the hell is this? Jingyi's voice came from the crow's mouth. Have we fallen for Genjutsu? Hatake Sakumo and Jiraiya looked as if they had seen a ghost, and Orochimaru's lips slightly raised, with a smile that even AK couldn't hold back. Shizuchi, I am Orochimaru. Our team was ambushed by the IWA Ninja Village. The rest of the team died. Only Jiraiya, I, and Sakumo-senpai are left. Orochimaru quickly described the current situation and summarized it in 2 words, help. In the lounge of the camp, Jing suddenly woke up from his daze. You were saying that you were ambushed and surrounded by the Earth-style legion that is currently preparing for the IWA Ninja Village, and you are in a very bad condition, right? Right. No. After saying that, the crow puppet returned to its original state. Jiraiya, who was lying on the ground, stammered and asked, smelly, cough, stinky fart Orochimaru, what on earth is this? Hatake Sakumo didn't speak, but he was itching in his heart. After all, this thing is too outrageous. They were far away on the battlefield and were able to communicate with Jingyi in the camp through a crow. If there were more crows like this, it would definitely be a nightmare for the enemy. Because Konoha can control the enemy's movements at any time. Remote command can be realized directly. It's a puppet made by Shizuchi, not a psychic beast. After saying that, Orochimaru sat down against the rock. He seemed to be in better condition, but that was only on the surface. If it weren't for his quick reaction and speed, he would probably be the same as Jiraiya and Hatake Sakumo. Puppet. Jiraiya and Hatake Sakumo felt that their outlook on life had been impacted. There are actually such puppets in the ninja world? In the camp, Jingyi got dressed, put on a raincoat and quickly left the medical room and came to the headquarters. Who? Episode 85, Jingyi is here to save us. Who? Naralu Xian was sleeping at the moment, and when she noticed someone breaking in, she woke up immediately. Senior, it's me. Orochimaru and the others were ambushed by the IWA Ninja Village and suffered heavy losses. Currently, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Hatake Sakumo are being hunted. They are in bad condition and I need to rescue them. Etc. The raised hand was still in the air, and Jingyi's shadow disappeared from the command center. Nara Lushin, who was still a little confused, wanted to ask, how did you know that they were ambushed and hunted? how do you know? That's what you said. Why did you run away mid-sentence? After successfully contacting the camp and being rescued, Jiraiya, who took a while to recover, said happily, in other words, we don't have to die? No, Jingyi is just a medical ninja, how can he save us? Idiot. Orochimaru didn't bother to explain. He didn't even want to talk to Jiraiya. Seeing this, Hatake Tsukumo could only smile bitterly and said, Orochimaru, I'm actually curious too, why don't you tell me? Idle time is also idle, just treat it as chatting. Orochimaru opened his mouth, and finally chose to give Hatake Tsukumo some face. Jingyi is not just a medical ninja. He is very strong. My feeling is correct. Moreover, he has made a large number of puppets. Well, at least 500 of them have reached Jonin strength level. There are more than 1,000 puppets in total. For the mission, Orochimaru hunted a large number of Jonin-level creatures as materials for Shizuchi. He believed that Jingyi could turn these corpses into powerful puppets. Hiss, he holds thousands of puppets in his hands, at least 500 of them with Jonin-level strength. Hatake Tsukumo couldn't help but take a breath. He suddenly felt helpless. Is this war still necessary? Let Jingyi take action, and hundreds of puppets rush forward in a swarm. It's simply invincible. As a result, Jingyi, who had such exaggerated combat power, stayed in the camp as a medical ninja. This was simply evil. Hatake Tsukumo asked himself, if he had such great strength, he would be floating in the sky. The number of puppets was in the thousands, at least 500 at the Jonin level. Jiraiya, whose mind was blank, counted with his fingers for a long time. He should have been sent to the battlefield earlier. If Jingyi entered the battlefield directly, would they be so miserable? Once the puppet army comes out, I'm afraid they will fight enemies who don't even know their parents. Although this is just Orochimaru's one-sided statement, anyone who is familiar with Orochimaru knows that this guy can't joke, let alone joke about serious matters. They are still being hunted. Once Jingyi cannot rescue them, the three of them will most likely die here. Surround and continue searching. Around the cave where the Orochimaru three were hiding, a large number of IWA Ninja Village ninjas were searching everything around them, trying to catch the three who escaped. Huang Tu, who directed the battle, was also among them. The IWA Ninja Village silently gave Konoha a big shot, with a very clear purpose, which was to eliminate the new generation of strong men in Konoha. Hatake Tsukumo, Orochimaru, and Jiraiya are all representative of the new generation of strong men in Konoha, who can strangle the future of Konoha in the cradle. This method of besieging and killing geniuses from other villages would be done by the 5 major ninja villages. It just so happened that Konoha was busy fighting with Sand Shinobi Village, so it gave IWA Shinobi Village a chance. According to the search speed of IWA Ninja Village, it won't take long to find where Orochimaru and the others are hiding. However, the 3 people hiding in the cave have no energy to fight anymore. Maybe Orochimaru still has a little strength to resist. As for Hatake Tsukumo and Jiraiya, they were already lying down. Hatake Tsukumo was also unlucky. He bumped into Sancho Hanzo before and was seriously injured before escaping back to the camp. He had just recovered and re-entered the battlefield, but he was ambushed by the IWA Ninja Village inexplicably. In the rainy night, a huge giant eagle quickly approached from the sky. Shizuchi relied on the puppet's position to locate the hiding place of the 3 Orochimaru people. Looking at the dense crowd of people on the ground, Jingyi couldn't help but smile. The IWA Ninja Village is really ruthless. Either they don't do anything, or they take the blame. This clearly shows that he wants to wipe out the new generation of strong men in Konoha in one fell swoop. It seems that in the original work, Tsunade and the 3 of them suffered a similar ambush. If Konoha's rescue army had not arrived in time, there might not have been the so-called Sannin. Unexpectedly, Tsunade was in charge of the village, Hatake Tsukumo took Tsunade's place, and Orochimaru and the others were still ambushed. Tisk, sometimes it's not good to have too much fame. After locking the position, Jingyi controlled the puppet to descend quickly. Lord Lus, there is something in the sky. The giant eagle descended quickly, attracting the enemy's attention. The people in the IWA Ninja Village gave up their search and turned their attention to the sky. I'm here, come out. In the cave, the puppet crow's eyes lit up again. Orochimaru showed a relieved smile. Rescue came, surprisingly fast. He helped Hatake Tsukumo and picked up Jiraiya, who was lying motionless like a dead pig. Orochimaru quickly walked towards the blocked entrance of the cave. Get ready for battle. Huang Tu frowned and looked at the sky. As expected, the people coming must be enemies, and maybe they were coming for the 3 people they were chasing. It was raining heavily in the sky, and Jingyi didn't bother to tangle with the enemy. He just threw a scroll and controlled the giant eagle to fall in the direction of Orochimaru and the others. Careful. Ninjas have very good eyesight. Seeing the scroll falling from the sky, the ninjas of Iwa Ninja Village on the ground were cautiously on guard. When the rickety scroll quickly approached the ground, it suddenly shattered. In an instant, dozens of figures appeared on the battlefield, and dozens of pairs of eyes with blue light were particularly conspicuous in the dark night. What the hell is this? Konoha's ninja? It doesn't look like someone who escaped from a sealing scroll. Whose ninja can escape from a sealing scroll? Puppet? Wait, aren't these the ninja clothes from our Iwa Ninja Village? Asshole. Huang Tu took a closer look and found that several of the figures were wearing ninja clothes from the Iwa Ninja Village. He immediately understood that these were not people at all, but puppets. The ninjas of Iwa Ninja Village died on the battlefield, and their bodies were taken away by Konoha and then made into puppets. Huang Tu would not be surprised to see such a situation at Sand Shinobi Village, because Sand Shinobi Village likes to do this, making puppets out of ninja corpses. They are good at it, and there are very few puppet ninjas in Konoha. It is simply rarer than a national treasure. What less can see, others can also see. Several Awagakure ninjas at the scene were stunned. That's Dayu? Isn't he dead? I saw Jiro. Shut up. Huang Tu scolded with a black face, these people are no longer our companions. The enemy made their corpses into puppets. As soon as these words came out, the Iwa Ninja Village exploded. Episode 86, Do you want to see fairy scattering flowers? However, before they could take action, dozens of puppets rushed towards them like ghosts. Huang Tu shouted, everyone, be careful. The enemy's puppet is coming. The weapon of the humanoid puppet is kunai. Kunai is the standard equipment. In addition, it is cheap and suitable for use with humanoid puppets. As for other weapons, Jingyi is reluctant to equip these puppets. It's just a bunch of consumables, so why waste extra money? Die. One of the Awagakure ninjas clenched the kunai in his hand and fought with the kunai who rushed at the front. The kunai collided, and a powerful impact hit the kunai. The Awagakure ninja did not expect the puppet to be so powerful. His whole body paused and took a few steps back, but the puppet on the opposite side had no impact at all. He rushed forward quickly, and the kunai pierced his heart. After a successful blow, the puppet quickly rushed to the next enemy without any pause. Be on guard. Be on guard. The battlefield suddenly became chaotic. Dozens of puppets rushed into the camp of Iwa Ninja Village desperately, attacking the people around them crazily, regardless of whether they would be injured. The most troublesome thing is that even if their heads are cut off, these puppets can still wave the weapons in their hands to give you a fatal blow. At the beginning of the battle, the situation turned upside down. This was something Huang Tu had not expected. He was raising his hand to prepare the seal. He saw these puppets rushing towards a crowded place and could not help but curse a few words. He rushed forward with a kunai in hand. The giant eagle landed on the hillside. On the hillside, a rock was pushed away. Orochimaru carried Jiraiya and supported Hatake Sakumo out. I must have arrived just in time. Very timely, Orochimaru smiled and threw Jiraiya onto the back of the giant eagle, and said happily, I was just trying. I didn't expect that I could really contact you through the puppet. Can your puppet be controlled remotely? It has to be you, Orochimaru. Jingyi laughed and gave Orochimaru a thumbs up. To put it bluntly, Orochimaru's research abilities are truly impressive. Ha ha ha. After receiving high praise from Shizuchi, Orochimaru also laughed. Stop laughing, the enemy is coming soon. Jing threw out dozens of puppets. Although the puppets fought without their lives, there were a lot of ninjas in Iwa Ninja Village. They cooperated with each other and quickly eliminated all the puppets one by one. In addition, the puppets thrown out by Jingyi were just a batch of defective products. The damage this batch of defective products can do to the enemy is limited. Shizuchi helped Hatake Sakumo sit on the back of the giant eagle, tilted his head and said to Orochimaru, want to see the fairy scattering flowers? Fairy scatter flowers? What does it mean, such a strange word? Orochimaru didn't understand, and Jiraiya and Hatake Sakumo were even more confused. Surround them. When it comes to the meat at the mouth, the lust will not allow them to escape. Jingyi, let the puppets go and kill them. You let the puppets go. Jiraiya shouted anxiously. Jingyi glanced at him speechlessly, ignored him, raised his right hand, put the thumb and middle finger of his right hand together, and grinned at Huang Tu. I hope you like my gift. What's the meaning? How can you still laugh when you are surrounded? This kid who came out of nowhere really thought he could successfully escape from the battlefield with a bird. Bang! Smiling and spitting out this syllable, Jingyi walked onto the back of the giant eagle and snapped his fingers. With the snap of fingers, the puppets that had been dismembered suddenly lit up with a faint blue light. Not good. Seeing this scene, Huang Tu's eyelids twitched a few times. There are still many ninjas in the village who are still fighting with the puppets. Once these puppets will self-destruct, hiss, boom. The next second, Huang Tu's expectation came true, and each puppet exploded violently like a bomb. It took less than 2 seconds from the time the puppet lit up with a blue light to the time it exploded. It was too late for Huang Tu to warn the ninjas in the village to take precautions. He could only watch helplessly as the ninjas in the same village screamed and were blown away. Those who were lucky were blown away, while those who were unlucky were blown to pieces on the spot, and even the intact body could not be preserved. The explosive power of the puppet is much more exaggerated than the detonating talisman. Violent explosions passed into his ears, and Huang Tu's mind went blank. He never dreamed that these puppets would explode. It is completely different from the puppets I have encountered before. Wait, the guy who came to the rescue standing on the giant eagle doesn't seem to be controlling the puppets. These puppets can move freely? As if he had discovered some terrible secret, Huang Tu's expression changed on the spot. The explosion continued, and the ninjas who were not in the explosion area were stunned. No one expected that the puppet without the ability to move would explode, and the power was astonishing. At this time, no one paid attention to Jingyi and others anymore. Jingyi calmly controlled the giant eagle to fly into the sky and quickly moved away from the battlefield. It can actually explode? Orochimaru's eyes were a little stunned. He couldn't figure out why these puppets exploded. He had taken apart Jingyi's puppets and studied them. The disassembled puppets showed no signs of explosion. Are they two different puppets? No, it must be the same kind. Jingyi can control these puppets to explode. Orochimaru suddenly broke into a cold sweat when he thought of studying these puppets without any precautions. If he wanted to concentrate on studying the puppets suddenly exploded, and Orochimaru would peel off his skin unless he died. Gudu, looking at the tragic situation on the battlefield below, Hatake Tsukumo said weakly, "Shizuchi, can I learn how to make a puppet?" Depend on. With such a puppet, who the hell would rush forward to beat him to death? During the battle, it is enough to let the puppets go up. If the puppets fall down, they will explode. This is definitely a killing move that will make the enemy frightened. The fighting style of puppets is to fight hard. They are not afraid of death, but what about your enemies? They need to fight with the puppets carefully, and beware of the puppets exploding during the battle. This kind of battle is the most frustrating. You need to be careful, the puppets don't care about this at all, they have no life, and they will fight for your life when they enter the battle state. Regardless of risking my life with you, I will drag you with me to explode at any time. Ahem, count me in. Jiraiya said with a smile, which caused the wound to vibrate and blood to flow from the corner of his mouth. Come here, the secret technique is exclusive and will not be passed on to others, so don't worry about it. Many secret techniques are not spread to outsiders, and most ninja families have such secret techniques. It's okay if you don't teach it to others. Even if it is taught, you may not be able to learn it. Jiraiya grimaced in pain, but he didn't care about that. Instead, he was interested in Shizuchi's puppet. Orochimaru said that you have at least hundreds of puppets comparable to Jonin. Is this true? Did you even say this? Jin glanced at Orochimaru and answered Jiraiya's question, it's just a comparison. In fact, it is not as strong as Jonin's level. Unless I personally control it, a Jonin-level ninja can easily take down my puppet as long as his strength is not too strong. Episode 87. Who is a good person who uses a puppet as a liaison device? The strength reaching Jonin level is only calculated by making materials. It does not mean that these puppets really have the strength of Jonin. A puppet is always a puppet and cannot be compared with a human being. For example, Orochimaru is a Jonin. He hunts those powerful creatures that are comparable to Jonin. It is not easy. This is the difference. So, I don't have enough strength, so I can only make up with numbers. I came all the way to rescue you. You have to help me hunt for more materials in the future. No problem. Orochimaru smiled and nodded, agreeing to the request. It's okay with me, ahem. Jiraiya felt like his whole body was falling apart. Hatake Tsukumo hesitated, Shizuchi, your own strength should not be weak, right? Do you still need to prepare so many puppets? Based on what Orochimaru said before, even if Shizuchi is just a medical ninja, he can still be regarded as a medical ninja like Tsunade, and his own strength is definitely not weak. In this case, why pursue a huge number of puppets? Who said that? This is slander. Jingyi retorted excitedly, I'm just a medical ninja. As we all know, medical ninjas are the weakest and lack the power to protect themselves, so I have to prepare more puppets to protect my own safety. Do you still need to prepare more puppets to protect your own safety? What about us? Hatake Tsukumo didn't want to talk immediately. Let me take care of the materials. Others come all the way to save you, and Jingyi has to repay this kindness with materials for making puppets. This kind of reward is not too embarrassing. In the ninja world, there are not many other things, but there are a lot of powerful creatures. The giant eagle quickly flew towards the camp. On the way, Jingyi saw small black dots lying on the ground. Jingyi raised his feet, and the giant eagle slowed down, slowly fell from high altitude, and flew closer at low altitude. What a coincidence, he is from the village. Since he was from the village, Jingyi directly asked the giant eagle to take him away. It was not far from the camp, so there was no need to stop and waste time. The giant eagle was very fast, and it didn't take long before it arrived at the camp. Unknown flying creatures approached in the sky, which attracted great attention from the camp. Orochimaru fired the signal bomb first, notifying the people in the camp that the provincial camp regarded them as enemies. It is the signal flare of the village. Only then did the ninjas in the camp put down their guard and make way for an open space. The giant eagle landed slowly and stood firmly in the open space in the camp. After everyone came down, Jingyi put away the puppet. Master Jingyi, Master Liu Xian, please go to the headquarters immediately. Okay, I'll be there right away. At this time, Nara Lushin must be full of questions. Shizuchi handed Jiraiya to Orochimaru and headed towards the headquarters. At the headquarters, Nara Lushin is playing chess, alone. Hearing the footsteps, he straightened up and put away the chessboard. Is everyone okay? It's relatively timely. If we get there later, we can help them collect the bodies. IWA Ninja Village plans to bury the new generation of strong men in the village and fundamentally weaken us. Jingyi took off his coat, walked into the restroom nearby, and quickly changed into clean clothes. Wearing wet clothes, I felt uncomfortable all over. Watching Jingyi walk into the restroom to change clothes, the corner of Nara Lushin's mouth twitched a few times. This kid really doesn't regard himself as an outsider at all. After Jingyi changed clothes and came out, Nara Lushin continued, this is what IWA Ninja Village would do. I didn't expect that IWA Ninja Village would prepare such a great gift for us. Only 3 people from an elite force came back alive. In this wave, Konoha's losses were a bit big. The elite force formed was almost wiped out by the IWA Ninja Village. If it weren't for Shizuchi's speed, Orochimaru and the 3 of them might not have been able to come back. That's all for Orochimaru. His ability to escape was top-notch. Hatake Tsukumo was seriously injured and unable to fight anymore. Without rescue, the 2 of them may die. With the destruction of the elite troops, will the village fall into a passive position? Yes, but it's not a big problem. An elite force would feel painful if Konoha lost it, but it would not affect the situation of the war. Of course, this is based on the fact that Hatake Tsukumo, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru were rescued. If even 3 of them were lost, then Konoha would suffer a serious loss. By the way, how did you get in touch with them? There was no movement at all in the camp, so Jingyi ran out to rescue. It was his fault that he ran out to rescue, otherwise the trouble would have been big. Jingyi poured himself a cup of hot water. After taking 2 sips of hot water, his body gradually warmed up. Orochimaru has my puppet in his hand, and he used it to contact me. What the hell? If Jingyi said that Orochimaru used a psychic beast or other means to contact him, Nara Lushin would not be surprised. In the ninja world, there are too many strange ninjutsu and abilities. But what the hell is a puppet? Are you kidding me? For specific details, you can ask Orochimaru yourself. I'm sleepy and have to leave first. Jingyi didn't have time to tell stories to Nara Xian. He had been rescued and he needed to have a good sleep. He was sleeping well at first, but this guy Orochimaru actually contacted him through a puppet. Shizuchi admired this guy for actually thinking of such a method. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't believe that the puppet made by Jingyi could be used as a liaison device. This kid has more and more secrets. Shizuchi was busy sleeping, so Nara Lushin could only let him rest first. Anyway, there was Orochimaru, who was an insider. Orochimaru's injury was not serious, and he was able to leave after simple treatment. However, Hatake Tsukumo needs to stay in the medical room to recuperate for a while. As for Jiraiya, he can't even think of leaving the medical room for less than 10 days and a half. After receiving treatment, Orochimaru walked out of the medical room and met someone sent by Nara Lushin. The elite troops were wiped out in a wave, and Nara Shikami and Hatake Tsukumo could not get rid of the blame. One is the captain of the elite unit, and the other is the frontline commander. On the contrary, Orochimaru and Jiraiya are free, and they cannot take the blame. Sit down. From the headquarters, Nara looked at the report with a headache. Even though he seemed very relaxed when chatting with Jingyi, in fact, a wave of elite troops were wiped out, which had a somewhat big impact on the battlefield situation. Orochimaru pulled out his chair and sat down. Episode 88, Working as a Medical Ninja in the Camp with Wangjia in Hand? Nara Lushin closed the scroll and said with a headache, "Then Orochimaru, please report what happened in detail. I need to report this matter to Hokage-sama." Orochimaru began to describe what happened to the elite troops. There was no problem with Hatake Tsukumo's command, and Nara's battle plan was sound. No one expected that the IWA ninja village would hold back a big wave. It caught everyone off guard. Well, Nara Lushin sighed, "I didn't expect that. IWA Ninja Village is really here for you guys. The IWA Ninja Village doesn't care about any elite troops. What they care about is Konoha's genius." An elite unit was wiped out. Although Konoha felt heartache, it was able to quickly raise a second elite unit again. However, if one of the village's geniuses died, it would be a huge loss. IWA Ninja's appetite is a bit big, and he wants to eat 3 of them in one pot. That's all, it's over now, there's no point in regretting it. Shaking his head, Nara Lushin suppressed these troubles and asked, "Jingyi said that you contacted him through his puppet. Can you tell me how you did it? It seems that many people are still in the dark." Orochimaru felt like laughing for no reason. "Because I took apart Jingyi's puppet and studied it. It is amazing to be able to give life to the puppet. During the research process, I was thinking, since Jingyi can give life to the puppet, can he control the puppet remotely? Do you know what you are talking about?" Everyone in Nara Lushin was dumbfounded. Give life to a puppet? You can also control puppets remotely. What kind of method is this? Orochimaru continued, "Shizuchi's puppet is very special. Not only can it be controlled remotely, it can also be contacted through the puppet, and it can even be used for surveillance. The puppet is very powerful." With that said, Orochimaru narrated the process of Shizuchi's rescue. Nara Lu's heart was heavy and immediately became active. Swallowed nervously. "You mean, Jingyi has at least 1,000 puppets in his hands? Can some of these puppets reach the level of ordinary jonin? What kind of god is this, holding a king bomb in his hand, and then sitting in the camp being a medical ninja, right?" Recalling Shizuchi's original words, Orochimaru smiled faintly. "Jingyi-kun said that he is just a medical ninja and does not have the power to protect himself, so he needs to make more puppets for self-protection. God is so self-protective. Others don't know it, but Nara Lushin knows very well that Jingyi's strength is definitely extraordinary. It's just that I haven't had the chance to take advantage of it yet. It is not an exaggeration to regard him as the second Tsunade." As a result, he opened his mouth and said that he was a weak medical ninja and needed strength to protect himself. Nara Lushin felt like she had just received a big lemon, and she felt very sad. "Tell me, can we send the puppet made by Jingyi into the battlefield?" Nara Lu Xian suddenly had some unique ideas. That is to send the puppet made by Jingyi to the battlefield. Compared with the puppet, the life of the village ninja is more valuable. If the problem can be solved with the puppet, why let the village ninja risk his life? Orochimaru smiled, "If each team carries a few puppets. Depend on." Nara Lushin pounded the table excitedly. He was moved. Jingyi is right. He does need protection. The village should take it seriously. Such a genius must not be allowed to take risks. Maybe most people think of letting Jingyi enter the battlefield, but Nara Lushin is different. He thinks that Jingyi is too special and should be protected. It is enough to make a few puppets and let the ninjas in the village take the puppets to fight. The puppet that can fight the enemy desperately and explode will definitely make the enemy collapse. Not to mention that Jingyi's puppet can also be used as a transit point for communication. Orochimaru, you should go and rest first. I need to contact the village immediately. This matter must be taken seriously. Nara dear thinks much further than the average person. Orochimaru smiled and stood up to leave. He very much hopes that the village will take this matter seriously, so that he can become Jingyi's royal puppet maker. Nara Lushin immediately spread the news back to the village, including the third Hokage and Tsunade. Before Jingyi woke up, the scroll had been delivered to the village. The third Hokage looked at the contents of the scroll, and the scroll in his hand fell on the table with a thud without even reacting. After being stunned for a while, he quickly picked up the scroll and looked at it carefully. If he didn't believe that Nara Lushin was not the kind of person who would make fun of serious matters, third Hokage would even think that the other party was deliberately looking for him to have fun. Compared to the erratic third Hokage, Tsunade is much calmer. Because Jing had some knowledge with her early on, although not everything, at least Tsunade was also an insider. There are still some puppets left by Jingyi on her body. Minister, Sir Hokage, invites you. Umbu's people are here, and the third Hokage wants to see Tsunade, which is extremely urgent. After knowing the strength and function of the puppet, third Hokage could no longer sit still. Just as Nara thought, third Hokage felt that as long as it was used well, the puppets made by Jingyi could definitely achieve great success. In the past, Umbu did not have the position of minister, because the highest position in Umbu was captain. As Umbu came under Tsunade's control, the position of minister came with it. Tsunade also became Umbu's first minister. Old man, are you looking for me? Tsunade pushed the gate of opening and walked into the Hokage office. After asking casually, she sat directly on the sofa nearby. The third Hokage looked at Tsunade, who seemed to be unaware with complicated eyes. He believed that Tsunade knew all about Shizuchi, but Tsunade had never said it out loud. Tsunade, Shizuchi's puppet is very special. You should know this, right? When Shizuchi issued a mission to collect the corpses of powerful creatures to use as puppet materials, Tsunade also took the opportunity to make a fortune from this mission and deducted some money from Orochimaru. Many of the materials that Jingyi needed to make puppets were bought with Tsunade's help. If Tsunade didn't know about it, he wouldn't believe it. I know, Jingyi started making puppets very early. Tsunade replied calmly, after all, he is just a medical ninja and lacks the power to protect himself. It is appropriate to make some puppets to protect himself. I also bought a lot of materials for him. Seeing his disciple open his eyes and tell lies, third Hokage's face darkened. Tsunade, you know what I want to say. Do you know it's urgent now? What were you doing earlier? Tsunade couldn't help rolling her eyes. Old man, just tell me what you want to do. I hope Jingyi can contribute the puppets. After all, this is all for the village, and the village needs these puppets. Third Hokage wants to have sex for nothing as soon as he opens his mouth. Episode 89, Chio, Konoha must have suffered heavy losses, press on Konoha. Tsunade, who originally planned to listen carefully, suddenly turned dark. Is love a waste of money? Still no reward at all. Tsunade couldn't help but think of the medicines and potions she developed in the past few years, which had been used by the village for free. The third Hokage's excuse for fighting was also for the sake of the village. Well, I'm used to having sex for free, and now I've started to openly rob it under the slogan of the village, right? Then you play slowly, I won't accompany you anymore. Tsunade had no intention of continuing her conversation with the third Hokage, so she stood up and left. Bump. Looking at the door slamming heavily, third Hokage fell into silence. It seems that Tsunade is not as easy to talk to as she used to be. She wants to use the village's slogan to go whoring for free, but this method no longer works. So how do you get the puppet? Third Hokage never thought of giving money or other compensation. He hoped that Jingyi could understand the general situation and contribute the puppet, preferably the secret of the puppet as well. After all, it's all for the village. After leaving the Hokage office, Tsunade was not sure how far the puppet's contact distance was, so she had no choice but to let the puppet pass the scroll to Shizuchi. IWA Ninja Village, Sachikage office, Inoki looked at the information scroll in his hand and was speechless for a long time. What the hell kind of luck has Konoha got? For a long time, Inoki cursed a few words secretly. Compared to Sand Shinobi Village, which was bent on provoking a war, Konoha, which was passive in its counterattack, and Rain Shinobi Village, which was dragged into the water, IWA Shinobi Village never thought about starting a war with other villages. At least not now, because the next door neighbor keeps staring at them. After being forced to get involved in this huge war, Inoki set up this genius killing plan. Who would have thought that an originally smooth plan would fail because of an irrelevant person? Even if one of Konoha's elite troops was wiped out, Inoki would not be happy. Because the geniuses he wanted to kill had all evacuated safely. Not to mention, IWA Ninja Village also suffered a setback in the end, and many people were killed by puppet bombs. A puppet that does not require chakra thread control. The puppet seems to be alive? Moreover, the puppet is very powerful. Even if it is dismembered, it will explode. What a mess. It's a pity that this scroll was sent back by Huang Tu, his son, Anoki. If it were another person, Anoki would definitely give him a slap in the face first. How can you say that you are a bit outrageous when you ride on a horse? See for yourself what kind of stuff you write. Anoki wouldn't be surprised if Sand Shinobi Village develops some special puppets. After all, Sand Shinobi Village is very good at playing with puppets, and Konoha. Puppet ninjas in Konoha are rarer than giant pandas. A person appeared out of nowhere and controlled many special puppets. They were more terrifying than the puppets in Sand Shinobi Village. No one would believe it. Now that the genius killing plan has failed, Konoha will definitely be on guard against the IWA Ninja Village. It will be difficult for the IWA Ninja Village to continue to succeed. Anoki's chest ached with anger at the thought of his perfect plan being ruined. Why? Is Konoha the cradle center of genius? With Hatake Tsukumo, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and the new generation of strong men, isn't it enough? Thinking about the crooked people in the village and looking at the genius of Konoha, Anoki was once again jealous of the third Hokage's good luck. Rain Country, Sand Shinobi Village Campground. Chiyo frowned and asked, "Are you sure the battlefield has been cleared?" The IWA Ninja Village launched a wave of attacks, severely defrauding Konoha and burying all of Konoha's elite troops. Such news cannot be hidden. Chiyo immediately sent people to collect information. It is a pity that the IWA Ninja Village cleaned the battlefield very clean, and even took away the corpses of Konoha's ninjas, except for some broken limbs and arms that were of no use value. Yes, Chiyo-sama, but we found many large craters left by explosions on another battlefield. These are not like those left by the IWA Ninja Village. Every puppet explosion with a strength comparable to Chunin's power cannot be compared with the detonating charm. After the explosion, a large pit will be left on the ground, and soon a large amount of rain will flow in, forming large puddles. The strange thing is that there are no fragments of detonating symbols around the pit. Therefore, the ninjas who gathered intelligence concluded that these puddles were not caused by the explosion of the detonating talisman. In addition to puddles, our guys found these around. The IWA Ninja Village has cleaned the battlefield, but the battlefield is too large. If you search carefully, you can still find some valuable information and things. The ninja in charge of intelligence took out a cloth bag. Chiyo took the bag and opened it doubtfully. The bag contains iron lumps that have been severely deformed, as well as parts mixed with other materials. As one of the best people in Sand Shinobi Village who is good at playing with puppets and making puppets, Chiyo immediately understood when he saw these things. Are these parts of puppets? Right. The intelligence ninja replied, Chiyo-sama, after identification, these things are parts for making puppets, but they are different from the parts mass-produced by the village. It seems to have become more interesting. Chiyo picked up one of the parts and rubbed it hard with his thumb and index finger a few times, and the part returned to its original brightness. The number of puppet ninjas in Konoha is smaller than the national treasure. The same applies to IWA Ninja Village. Except for Sand Shinobi Village, there are few ninjas in the ninja world who are good at making and using puppets. Then here comes the problem. Where do these parts come from? And how the large puddles were left on the battlefield? Could it be that the puppet exploded? Chiyo imagined the scene at that time, but as soon as the scene emerged, she shook her head hard and killed the idea. The ninjas of Konoha and IWA Ninja Village use puppets. This is simply an international joke. Continue to deploy additional manpower to investigate. Although full of doubts, this is good news for Sand Shinobi Village. Anoki, you are indeed not a good person. Looking towards the direction of IWA Ninja Village, Chiyo smiled coldly. Before, IWA Ninja Village rejected her proposed cooperation, but then turned around and gave Konoha a big gift. Chiyo admires Anoki's decisiveness and ruthlessness. Everyone else was busy fighting, but he, the IWA Ninja Village, directly targeted the new generation of strong men in Konoha, trying to wipe out the pot for others. So has IWA Ninja Village succeeded? Send my order and continue to press towards Konoha's position. We need to put enough pressure on the enemy. Originally, Sand Shinobi Village was in a somewhat passive situation, but as a result, IWA Shinobi Village sent a wave of gifts to Konoha, so don't blame her for Chiyo jumping in to take advantage. Without the garrison of elite troops, Konoha's offensive will definitely shrink and retreat. Episode 90. Without a puppet, cooperation is even more impossible. As Chiyo expected, Konoha's offensive did slow down, and the garrisoned area continued to move back. A wave of elite troops was wiped out, and 3 strong men almost died on the battlefield. This was no less than a blow to Konoha, and many of Nara's arrangements were affected. If you have no choice, you can only choose to retreat and defend. Minimize large-scale conflicts with the enemy as much as possible. Wait for the village's support before making plans. After a deep sleep, Jingyi yawned, took the scroll off the crow puppet's feet, patted the puppet's head and said, "Thank you for your hard work, go back." Quack. After being commended by its master, the crow puppet flew into the night sky, entered the rain curtain, and soon disappeared. Be quiet, light the candle, pour a glass of water, and spread the scroll on the table. After seeing the contents of the scroll, the water that just entered the mouth spurted out several meters away. It's such a big departure. I don't even have any shame. Jingyi couldn't figure out where the third Hokage had the nerve to say that everything was for the village. He actually asked him to contribute his puppet unconditionally. TSK. This wave of face selling is a bit big. Jingyi thought that the village would cooperate with him to make puppets, and he also thought about sending a batch of parts over and letting him control the parts. The only thing I didn't expect was that I would be prostituted for free. Fuck you. I originally planned to cooperate, but now it seems that it is completely unnecessary. After cursing a few words, Jingyi casually threw the scroll into the brazier, completely extinguishing the idea of cooperating with the village. You want to have sex for nothing, right? I won't play with you anymore. Jingyi decisively put the matter behind him. He felt that there was no need to ruin his good mood for a few shameless people. Instead of getting angry about this kind of thing, it is better to get yourself something delicious to make up for your shortcomings. As a coincidence, as soon as dinner was ready, the guests came. After hitting the gate of opening and smelling the fragrance in the lounge, Nara couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. He felt that Jingyi was better at cooking than the Akamichi clan. There's always something fun to do. Senior, have you eaten? Eat. Nara Lushin paused, then decisively changed his words. Not yet, I just want to hang out with you. Jingyi. Please touch your conscience and say this. Eating with more than one person can make things more lively, so Jingyi doesn't mind Nara Luxian deliberately messing around with the meal. We are all on the same front, so we should move around more and get closer. Nara Lushin ate a few mouthfuls of bacon-stewed rice and showed a satisfied look. As he ate, he suddenly said, the village's senior officials rejected my request for materials and parts. They, sigh. Why is it so short-sighted? Nara was embarrassed to say these words. You hope I will contribute the puppet, right? Jingyi couldn't help but be amused. Nara Lushin nodded awkwardly. Fortunately, he was just a messenger, and he and Jingyi were in the same group, otherwise he would have been too embarrassed to say this. There is no way, the village's order is coming, even if it is embarrassing, you have to finish your words. No, not one. I'm just a medical ninja. Don't ask me about combat matters. Jingyi refused, decisively. There is no room for negotiation. Let alone donating puppets now, even if F4 changes its mind and mobilizes a batch of materials and parts, Jingyi will not be happy if everyone cooperates to make puppets. I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. If you don't cherish it, why are you looking for me? Ahem. Jingyi refused so decisively that Nara Lushin couldn't help but cough. Can we discuss this? No, please send my original words back to Mr. Hokage. I originally planned to cooperate with the village and make puppets together, but now I have changed my mind. There are no puppets, and cooperation is even less possible. This thing completely blocked the road. Nara Luxian cursed a few times in his heart. He was not scolding Jingyi, but those who wanted to have sex for free. Isn't it good to cooperate well? How can you lick a face and get a free prostitute? Why don't you contribute all your family wealth? No need to lose face. Nara Luxian did not speak anymore and ate quietly. After finishing a bowl of stewed rice, he stood up. The elite troops we formed previously have been destroyed. The pressure on the village is relatively high, so I won't disturb your rest. Well, senior, walk slowly. Jingyi's attitude is not very good. Of course, the bad attitude is also directed at people who want to have sex for free, not at Nara Luxian. Nara Luxian was with him, but at this time Nara Luxian was talking to him on behalf of the F4 team, so Jingyi had such an attitude. No matter how unwilling he was, Nara Lushin could only report the truth. Orochimaru, is it necessary to hide? Senior must have discovered you. The person who came to find Jingyi was not only Nara Lushin, but also Orochimaru, but Nara Lushin arrived first. It seems that my latent ability needs to be strengthened. After being told by Shizuchi, Orochimaru pushed the gate of opening and walked in calmly. Sitting in the seat where Nara Lushin was sitting just now, Orochimaru folded his hands on his chest and said regretfully, it seems that our cooperation is coming to an end. I don't want to either, it's just that some people are so greedy that they don't even want to lose face. Shizuchi continued to eat without raising his head, reminding Orochimaru. I hope my puppet will not appear in the hands of a third person. Certainly. Jingyi decisively refused, third Hokage. Orochimaru would not hand over the puppets in his hands. He still needed to use these puppets for research, and he did not want to offend Jingyi for this matter. Want a puppet? Go find Jingyi, don't look for me. The cooperation that was about to begin was terminated due to the greed of F4. After Orochimaru expressed his attitude, he left quickly. In the Hokage office, the air pressure is a bit scary. The third Hokage smoked in silence. Mito Manabu looked a little ugly, and when it came to moving to bed, Koharu was already furious. To be precise, the scroll sent from Naralu Xian had already exploded after it arrived at the village. What does he mean? Doesn't he know that the village needs these puppets? As a member of the village, he should contribute the puppets. What do you mean by not having one? He's still saying arrogantly that he won't cooperate with the village. What exactly does Hyuga Shizuchi want to do? Go to bed. Koharu is like an angry old hen, opening his mouth and clicking away. Koharu has not been so angry for a long time since he became the representative of the village's elders. Even if he was scolded by Tsunade, the anger brought by it was not as great as being rejected by Shizuchi. Although Tsunade often criticizes her, she doesn't give her face. But in Koharu's view, Tsunade is on the same level as them. On the same level, they are all members of the Hokage faction. It is normal for them to have some conflicts with each other. You can deal with it slowly behind closed doors. Therefore, he was scolded by Tsunade and went to bed. Although Koharu was angry, he would not be so angry. But Shizuchi is different. Regardless of Tsunade's support, Shizuchi's identity is that of a low-level ninja to the F4 team, and he is also a low-level ninja who is ostracized by his family and suffers from bloodstained degeneration.